Hello, checking in with chapters 7 and 8 of The Man from Glengary, where we get introduced to Mimi, who is a niece to kind of a very upper crust woman who has a horror for the common people. And she would be kind of a spoiled, rotten girl if it wasn't for the fact of the influence of her of the Mrs. Murray, the Reverend's wife, who sends letters, and she starts looking really pale, and her father's kind of worried for her health. So he says, like, no, we should go and spend some weeks in the country with Reverend Mrs. Murray. And this is how Miss Murray, at the last chapter, had asked if she and Mimi, her I guess niece, I'm not quite sure what their relation is, could come and learn how the sugar is the maple syrup is tapped from the trees. And God, we had in the last bits of this last we've had scenes of them. Well, I guess must also be me doing chapter 6 as well, where she comes upon Randall doing this of tapping the trees, and it's almost like positively kind of like a sexual thing of him tapping the V and inserting the thing, and she's very taken with him, and it's she's like very taken with him. And I know it's supposed to be kind of like she sees like all his great potential, but it's like very much like he's a young man and he's just wonderful and he saved me from the wolves. And it's like, holy crap, it's like it's kind of intense in an interesting sort of way, a very innocent way, but also in a way that there's some things of the flowing sap and things like that you get like almost kind of a scene of like arousal. But she wants to make sure that he gets on a right path. She sees greatness, she sees all his passion, she wants to get him on the right path. So she wants to make friends with him, and as a part of that, she's like, oh well, I'll come and you can show me how it's boiled and made into syrup and stuff like that. And she invites Mimi along, and through Ronald's friend Dawn, they ends up being a whole bunch of boys and girls all get invited to it. So it's like a group thing, which is a little bit more comfortable because Ronald is very shy. And so yes, then we get the introduction to Mimi, who's like, upper crust kind of family, relatively speaking, and she gets sent to the country, and she goes there, and she had in chapter 6, Huey, Miss Murray's little boy, had gotten sent off for a couple of days with Ronald to the camps to kind of get to experience things there, and they come back and they're both brown as Indians, which is how it's put. And very dirty and stuff like that. And this is how Mimi first meets them, and she's like, it's like God, and she doesn't want to kiss Hugh, which is fine by Hugh, and she kind of makes fun of Ronald after he leaves, and Huey finds it very, does not like this at all, and just like throws water on her because he's very furious by it. And the Reverend Murray comes in and says like, he's not a good boy. He's a wild one. He's like his father, and it's like godless bunch, and starts running him down. But no, Mrs. Murray definitely sticks up for him and says, no, he's a good boy. He saved me, and he's done all this stuff. It's like she's really Team Ronald. And they go off, and then in like the final the chapter 8, they go off to to do the kind of make a day of it, of making the syrup, and they're making tea in the syrup, and he warns Ronald, kind of speaks he speaks sharply to Mimi, saying, watch yourself around the fire, She's like, why would he? Why does he bark? Why does he have to be such a bear? It's like, no, he's concerned because, like, you do have to be careful around fire, open flame. And they're basically, I envision girls and basically in giant tinder things that could just go up like a snap if they went too much into the fire. Ronald refuses to play any of the many games, and Mimi is scandalized when Donald asks for a kiss because of winning one of the games, and she's like, and she's like, no, I'm not going to, and refuses and refuses, and he's like, they tell him to go off, and you can kiss that girl instead. And she watches and it's like, oh, maybe it wouldn't be so bad to get kissed, is kind of the thing. And she's very much like, oh, this is like, it's a scandal if I kissed a boy. It's like, no, it's just the way things are done here, and it's just how you think about things. It's got nothing to do with. And oh, okay, I have to remember the thing. And was it? Yes, yeah. Mrs. Murray and he and Ronald have a discussion where he says, like, he says, like, I will be a great man one day. And it's like, and a good man. And he said, yeah, I suppose that's good too. It's like, no, you can't be a great man without being a good man. And I'm thinking, can you? Because, I think about another MacDonald, John A. MacDonald, who is a great man for Canada. But is he a good man? That's probably where you get into the complications there. Probably did a lot of not good things. Definitely great, but I don't know if he's good. And anyways, Mimi does run across to get some tea or something like that after the taffy pull, and catches fire. And who comes to the rescue but, of course, Ronald, who moves like a jungle cat and tackles her down, and before she's taken half a step, and Patton gets the fire out, and she's hysterical. And Miss Murray thanks him greatly, even though he's kind of hanging back because he's got the horror of things. Like, thank you for her, thank you for her dead mother. And then Mimi comes across and is like, oh, thank you, and gives them a kiss. At which point Donald says, hey, I didn't think you gave kisses out. And they all laugh. So it's definitely got kind of an earnest kind of simpleness to it, which I can see him being a good Ralph Connor being a good proselytizer, even if it's not like if it's super deep Christianity. It's a very pure and simple and earnest and kind of good heart feeling to it. I mean, I do have quibbles at the end, you could say, of this chapter of like, the Lord was looking after you so that you didn't get burned, which is like, well, I guess, if she had gotten horribly burned and scarred, well, then she would have deserved it, or, the good Lord wouldn't have been looking after her. There's a kind of a comfort food thing to it, but there's also a kind of a thing of like, well, if your life is shitty, I don't know how well this would go across to you. Anyways, it's just the thoughts. But it is very kind of cozy and comforting. And there's a part of me that kind of goes, if these were real people back then, it's like, we are looking at a lot of things of Canadian history, aslant nowadays. This is a very careful dancing around erasure of these people's kind of a cozy, pure Christian life, but also dancing around all the things of, the Indian lands they're on. This used to be a reservation, but the natives have somehow disappeared, all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, you also like, I'm sure we are doing shitty stuff right now. How much do you despise individual people for what they're doing? I don't know. There's a thought in there of having compassion for people of earlier ages. Is a thought? I don't know. It might be a stupid thought, But as much as I hopefully you'd have compassion for people nowadays, and that everyone has their lives. Theo is rolling on his back. Rolling on his back, yes, distracting me. So yeah. I mean, this whole thing of like, I hope people in 100 years or 120 years, 120 years are going to look back at me. I mean, this is written 120 years ago, but is probably set even another 20 or 40 years before that. It's like, I hope people will look back in 130 years and not judge, not despise me, not just completely scorn me for all my wrongheadedness. It's like I didn't know any better. And it was, I'm trying my best, and you try and do your individual best, but I don't know what you go from there. Yeah, it was just a thought. It's just a thought. I will try and keep on niggling at that, but that's just something that I just thought of when I was listening to this. It's like, these are Canadians of a different era, living their lives, trying to be a great man, trying to be a good man, trying to be good people, and all that. It's yeah, something worth keeping a hold of, especially when I live in one very particular part of time, and it would be a shame to just completely dismiss out of hand everything that happened before me. It would make for a poverty there. Yeah, because we carry all this with us, one way or the other. All right, I will leave it there. More videos later.